Good morning. Excuse me. All right, so we had some consolidation that's going on here so far, um, and it's just fine. It's one of the things I anticipated over the weekend that could happen. That would may actually set up a better move to the upside. Of course, it's got to take out this prior resistance up here. Yesterday started out on a positive and slowly eroded. And then when buyers couldn't take control, looking at the cues here, it went down toward that low point, and now we got this rather weak bottoming tail bar right there. So at this point, maybe we're in for an inside day here as the market waits for some new information or just consolidating the gain. I mean, it was a sizable gap, from this day last week, and then it continued to move higher. On Thursday, on that news, we got the inside day, and so far today just looks like a consolidation of the gain from the inside the base to above the base, and the rally day that was there. So maybe choppy here for a little bit. As I said yesterday, I'd really rather this not fill the gap and come down further. Looking at what's happening, this morning, we'll look at the futures, is that, that move lower into this area, it came up into that resistance up above and sellers were there. So now we've got this little tiny trading range overnight. And so now we'll wait to see if this low, which retested the prior, turns into a W bottom. And then we see if we can start pushing up from there eventually if it gets through here, which will still just only be an inside day of consolidation, but it may present a day trading opportunity. Not until it gets above this high here can we expect a sizable move above up to the old high. And if it can't hold here, well, now it's going to open up the door to this unfilled gap down here below. And of course, that's not the ideal when you have such a powerful move out of a base like this, where a consolidation is a resting period. So after a resting period, it shouldn't need more rest. It's just the way it should be. When we look at these historical patterns, they don't need more rest because they have rested. So yeah, that's a big move, and there's going to be some hesitancy about continuation, and traders say, oh yeah, I'll get in on the pullback and so on. But the strongest of moves don't pull back, and this really shouldn't pull back. So if we trade inside this range today, we'll just have to see. But so far, looks like some choppy action unless we can get out of yesterday's range. Spiders, they were a little bit stronger yesterday, clearing the high, but then they came back in again. And even when they bottomed out and right here, they just they couldn't get going. And the cues were even weaker as they made this W bottom, and then they retested again, and then I guess just whenever it went up a bit because the shorts, didn't get it to go lower. In any event, it was just choppy there after it couldn't go higher and just fell. So now we start off the day with a little bit more weakness, and we'll just have to see how it unfolds. All right, that's what we do every day. Diamonds, they were a little stronger. You kind of see the very close higher highs and higher lows here, and a little weakness. So we just don't have the momentum here. It's a grinder. It's chop, and you just have to be careful, with not to get chopped up yourself, because things are just becoming directionless again. Maybe just a new trading range, so to speak. Maybe, kind of hope not, but are we possibly starting a new range in between here? With a lot of erratic price action, as it was down here. We'll see as we get more information, that'll become more evident. But the bigger picture, weekly in an uptrend, you had the pullback, we had a month of chop, we got a reversal. It's supposed to go up. So we're waiting to see if that's actually going to happen. Transports, they had another good day. So this is supportive to think that, these markets are going to go higher. What they're waiting for, we'll see. Whatever news, I haven't checked to see what news is coming. I read something about Apple unfolding, or maybe new stuff besides their phones. Who knows what the market's going to key on there. I mean, there was news this morning, China economy slowing. So that's the excuse for the market being down a little bit, and some of the semiconductor stocks. But, it's just kind of directionless here. I know it's down here, but, inside days don't really mean a whole heck of a lot. So down doesn't necessarily mean it's going down a lot. Looking at the futures, you can see here's the move up, and it's like, okay, down, big deal. It's coming in a little bit, and so similar to what we looked at, it broke this low, and so now it's a little lower. Is it going to stop here? Well, this is the tricky part. When I look at something like this, it's like, is this a good location for this to make a W bottom? It could still do it, but it's not. Meaning, ideally, W bottoms happen where there's a swing low, similar to what I showed you on the 5-minute chart. Over to the left there was some support. So now this is in a downtrend. It's got room to fall. This is broken out. So how far theoretically could this drop and everything still be okay? Meaning constructive, that, okay, where would the depth of this retracement be too deep? I think if it gets beyond this 2960-ish area, which I'm just eyeballing is about 50% or so, maybe a little less. So why is it pulling back that far after a resting period and a breakout? Ideally, this should be about the low, give or take, or somewhere in here, because the ideal situation when you have a break like this is the pullbacks are rather shallow, and you get a correction bar, meaning something that breaks like this and turns into a green bottoming tail bar, and then you take off again. So we'll see how that all plays out, but we'll see intraday patterns develop because lower time frames develop first. That's because they are lower time frames. You get more data to look at. Qs were weaker yesterday, and they're weaker today, and now they're pulling back to the top of the base, and this is the swing low, right? Where this pattern on the hourly chart should set up to where buyers feel confident to buy at this level since they bought here. And this is where you look for the lower time frame to come back into alignment with the higher time frame. And this reversal down here, the theoretical reversal down here, transfers or evolves into a bottoming tail bar, or maybe tomorrow a green bar that reverses a red bar. But that's how you look at multiple time frames and understand where, okay, this is strength. It's pulling back to where buyers will be. This is in a downtrend. This is where buyers should show up. You look for confirming patterns in the lower time frame. And you could even go down to the 5-minute down here to get a little bit more detail if you so choose. Or if you just, someone that doesn't like these lower time frames because you just don't like processing that much information, it's all good. You just wait for your 60, or some people use the 30 or whatever. It's a choice to see in that lower time frame where it comes into alignment with your bias from the higher time frame. YM was the stronger on the way up. It's still the stronger, but you can see the hourly is also rolling over here, and we've got a sell set up. So we shall see where this unfolds, whether it's going to stop, well, maybe here or here or here if things get worse. But so we're in, information gathering mode here while this resting or consolidation after the strong move up is developing. The Russell actually showed relative strength yesterday. This was the worst performer prior. And a lot of times I think I mentioned this yesterday, the worst performer a lot of times does begin to outperform as money gravitates toward that, thinking it'll have a bigger move. So we'll see. It stopped short of clearing this area, which other markets were able to clear their respective areas, but it ended with a green day over here. So it did show relative strength throughout the day, and it was able to hold on to its gain. So we'll see what it does here. And you can see pre-market here, it's actually holding up rather well. The futures, it's just a stall. And so we'll just see how this all unfolds. We got, some immediate resistance. And now, if that breaks this low right there, it really isn't a big deal, but it should hold somewhere in this area. And ideally, if it consolidates up here, so let's assume that the Qs here, and they're starting to inch a little lower, they start heading lower toward that level down there. And the Russell just sits here and says, oh, go, all right, you're going down, but I'm just hanging right here. And the buyers are confident. That is a clear signal of relative strength, and that this, if it can clear this high, it's going to have, ability to get into this void and can outperform. So you don't need relative strength charts, another chart to take up spot on your screen. You just look at a time frame and say, oh, this is going sideways. This is going down. This one's the stronger one. That's relative strength. It's that simple. You don't have to make it complicated with, some of these other tools. And we got oil coming up into this prior swing high. There's going to be sellers up there, but, all of this slop now has cleared these pivots highs, and it's up near the next one. And you can see, some sellers coming in here, but overall, the pattern is constructive as we go into the high and look at the higher time frame, where this bottoming tail bar, which was a big red bar 1 week before it ended like that, and these topping tails not following through, and so on. When I mentioned yesterday, take a look at some of these energy ETFs and look what it did yesterday. So oil is looking, constructive that it can clear this area. It may need a resting period, just like the market, but the fact that it's come up from here, those energy sectors, which have been the big laggards for the last month or two and failed starts and stops, may be what starts to outperform. Bonds are down again, and that should help support the markets. They're in uptrends on the weekly time frame, so at some point buyers are going to show up again. But we talked yesterday about breaking the uptrend on the daily time frame, and now it's done that. So we'll see if this continues to grind lower, and it should help stocks. Gold down, pulling back like bonds. Broke now. This breaking its trend. And a lot of the gold stocks, some of that I looked at, they pulled back pretty sharply as well. And but again, long term, they still look good. So based on the higher time frames, they should turn around. And silver, buyers stepping up there. Now, this came down quite a bit. I think we'll see if this chops around. But look at the angle of retracement here. Rather than coming down, let me just get a little drawing tool now. Rather than, what we might, you see a strong move coming down, kind of like a bear flag kind of pattern, where then they eventually break out. This thing fell like a bag of rocks off a roof. So ideally, this spends a little time sideways, and that it's more supportive of, this negative retracement dissipating and the ability to take off from there. So we'll see how that unfolds over the next few days. And that's it on the markets. Dan, it's all yours.
All right, thanks. Good morning. Yeah, a number of things pulling in here yesterday. We added some positions. Let's go through them. Don't have as many gappers today. In the weekly options trader, we have Amazon right here. It looks so good yesterday. No, I'm good. This looked fantastic yesterday. We had a put spread. We added another one. We have a directional. Goldman did a put spread. That looks great. Knock call spread. That looks great. We're already at 50% of max profit. In the video was a 1, 2, 3. Looked fantastic. And, you know, closed with a topping tail. And now it's hovering around the lows here. NXPI, another semi that we liked yesterday. Swing trader, ABMD. We have a call spread. Cara long stock that was in the marijuana sector, and now he's not acting good. We bought this little breakout there. We have a tight stop under here. Dish, we sold half relative strength yesterday, and we're in trail mode. eGov, long stock, it's just slopping around there. We bought this breakout right there with a big stop. EQIX, we have a put spread, and it's the 530s, so it's still $8 out of the money, but that was a breakout failure in the REIT sector, and we were cautious of that, the REITs and the utilities and some of the discretionaries, money rotation, and coming out of the safety sectors. Hey, G, do me a favor and put all panelists and attendees. Now, is that code for Flyman? But on EQIX, we have a stop as always, but I also said, for risk management, let's do 2x the credit received as a max stop. Google, we're long stock on that beautiful, it's just a beauty 1, 2, 3 breakout. And you know what I meant to say yesterday, in case anybody was wondering about, hey, Dan, why are you giving us a bullish position on Google if all these states are suing them? Well, guess what? That information was known. I don't know how long ago they've been talking about it, but it was right in the Wall Street Journal on Saturday that said they're going to sue the states are going to sue Google next week, and here are the reasons why. So that did not bother me. In fact, it was a positive, meaning this would only trigger. So like if there was more bearish news in the weekend article that the market didn't know about in the prior weeks, then it wouldn't trigger. And it triggered. But we'll look to leg into a covered call if, it's had a bearish retracement, if the market wants to retrace more. ILMN, we're short stock. We've covered 1/3 the position, and I've lowered the stop. And that looks great. Beautiful, beautiful relative weakness. Railroad track declining 2050, big old price void on the weekly. That looks great. Kilo. We're in this on the gap breakout day. Today's Tuesday, so that was last Friday. And McGraw, you sent me a newsletter, somebody saying this is a breakout. Yes, this is a fantastic breakout, as opposed to the one you sent me yesterday that was up 12 bars in a row, taking out a prior pivot high. Now, we're in on the gap breakout, but I've been saying a couple times yesterday, over Friday's high, you can add, because that still looks fantastic. Okay, TOS, we bought this little breakout right there on that green bar. And it's got close to the stop there. Got really close. MDC, we're long stock, beautiful relative strength, beautiful to all-time highs. Look at that, daily, weekly. Now that was a breakout, McGraw. That was a breakout plus a no-brainer 1, 2, 3. And and that's exactly what we did. We were in on this day, I think 30-minute high. And then I said, you can add. And I think Greg was even playing around with that stock that day on the 1, 2, 3. MEI, we're long stock and in trail mode. That looks fantastic. MR is a little bottoming pattern, but we gave as a core yesterday because daily, weekly, monthly are all in alignment with a big price void, and we got our something something. Yesterday was our something something. Big old retest pattern, slicing through resistance, a little pickup in volume. It looks great. MTH, we're in this long stock, looks good. Newer, we shorted stock yesterday. I don't like the topping tail. We'll just let it play out. NXPI, we have a bull call debit spread. PSX, an oil stock we picked up yesterday. You know, these two red bars ignored after 100% retracement, breakout, bull flag on the weekly. That looks great. Starbucks dog, we got caught in this gap down. Held the 30-minute low. It's you know, turned into a mess. Whiskey, we have a covered call. Core trade, relative strength, that looks great. Finally, ZBH covered call. We legged into a covered call yesterday with, you know, after breaking out weakness. Let's look at gappers now. I think this had earnings, but, you know, it's extended penny stock, light volume, got no interest. Ford here, their deck got downgraded to junk. Wow, that's an ugly gap. You know, $9 under this 4 sideways. That's an ugly gap, but not a great setup. KC 162 had earnings. That's a bearish gap and extended on the weekly and monthly. Let's watch that for a bear call credit spread on a bounce. Wendy's, I don't know if this was earnings or just news or whatever. $20, that's a nasty gap. You know, I love looking at patterns to see where no-brainer entries are. So look at this. We had a pro gap here on volume, deep into resistance, cleared resistance. See that? And then we have a little bull flag consolidation. Look at the flagpole. Look at my 30-degree consolidation. Then it gapped up the next day, which would have been fine to buy intraday. But then the next day, you could have added over that topping tail bar. That was a beautiful setup. Nice. And so the reason I talk about those is, again, it's another picture of a movie that should go into your pattern movie bank. So when you see it again, there's an example of what happened after the setup. HDS, I think at earnings, 38.29. You're way down here. It's a mess. I don't know what to do with it. C-Turp slopping around here, slopping around pre-market, rally to resistance. Now, McGraw, this would be another example. Let's say it did just keep going up. Then some idiots would be saying, oh, it broke out. And, you know, it's the same discussion we had yesterday. Yeah, it's a breakout, but it's not a high odds tradable one. Gap's too big, Fran. I don't know what's up with Fran, but that's a bullish pre-market too. Wow, things more than doubling. Wow. NEOG is on our list from yesterday. Roku, one of you asked me about this yesterday morning, and I just gave you a big fat, I don't know, you're fighting a